Practicing non-knowing intimacy with others, the core question of this koan, if you will, of this theme is, who are you? Who are you? Right? In our Zen understanding, we recognize that we are both separate and not separate at the same time. We have a relative self that is separate from other beings, personality, and we're also fundamentally, intrinsically connected and one with all other beings. So how can this be? You know, we can say this, but it's a paradox when we say it. But it's actually a living truth of our natures. So how do we bring that alive within our own lives, to be separate and one at the same time? Bring that alive. So we can look deeply into ourselves and investigate who we are. And then we can also look at how we're interacting with others and seeing what's going on in that dynamic. And the deeper we go there, the more it will allow us to really bring alive our true nature. That allows us to function more smoothly, more relaxed, in a more relaxed way, a more natural way, a more organic way, a less hindered way in our lives, both in our relationship with ourselves and in relationship with other people. Our nervous systems seem to develop in a way that is based on us being in a scary world, right? And also interacting with people who may not be safe for us. So there's a constant kind of alert mechanism going on in our minds, and I'm including minds as part of our nervous system, right? Our brains and our senses are all part of the nervous system, and it creates an experience of the world, which can become very defended and very hypervigilant about other people, right? So from our Zen understanding, we get a lot of relief as we bring alive the reality that other people are not separate from us. And if we can really see that working and participate in relationships as one with other beings, instead of a kind of a spectator towards other people and a participant in my own life, almost like this, a disconnected relationship. From our Zen understanding, that's kind of based on a falsehood or a limited view of ourselves. So we investigate others as well as ourselves. I'm gonna share a koan, and this talk is I'm gonna repeat some of the themes and the koan that I gave at the retreat over the weekend. So those of you who were there, some of this will be familiar, but I've added quite a bit to it. So I hope it will be of interest to you, those of you who heard it on Saturday. Okay, I think so. Okay, so I'm going to start with this case koan from the Book of Equanimity. I'll say first, a couple of weeks ago, I'm talking about this theme, intimacy with other. I shared a koan in which two enlightened masters had an exchange with each other. And they were very frolicsome and playful, and it was very short, and it was very clean. And a number of people, I think, were a little dissatisfied with this example because it was like, okay, well, those are two really awakened beings. You know, give me something that I can work with this unawakened being and all these other unawakened beings that I'm interacting with. And I respect that. So this one that I have to share is shows a person who perhaps is awakened, you know, has a deep awakening for himself, and is working with people who are probably deeply unawakened, people that don't like him, that revile him, right? Like if you were to say, if I were to ask you, well, who are the unenlightened people? You might think first off, well, the people who don't like me. Right? So that's going to come up. All right, so how do we deal with people who don't like us? Book of Equanimity, case 58, which is also the Blue Cliff record, case 97. Attention, the Diamond Sutra says if someone is reviled by others, it is because that person had acquired negative karma in a previous existence. Because of this past falling into evil ways, he is reviled by people in this life, and in being reviled, the karma of the past will be exhausted. All right. Now the preface to this koan says, depending on a sutra to understand a principle is making false accusations against the Buddha of the three times. Departing from even one character of a sutra is the same as devil's talk. So this is a helpful preface here because it says we can't really take the easy, simple, literal interpretation. We have to seek a deeper Zen understanding, which really honors the spirit, every character, the spirit of the koan. So that's what we want to do here. So the surface meaning of this quote from the Diamond Sutra appears to say something like, we all deserve what we get, right? Like, if you're reviled in this world, it's because you committed transgressions in the past. You have bad karma, right? But that's just the surface level of this. That would be depending on the sutra to understand the principle, and that's not really the principle that's being brought forth, not in the Zen understanding. So let's go deeper into the understanding. Master Tenkei commented on this koan in the Blue Cliff record, and he says, you can't take up virtue without taking up sin. So I hear this to mean that if you consider yourself good and other people bad, you have to allow that you are sometimes bad and other people are good. Yeah. Master Secho has a verse where he comments on this koan. And he says, if neither alien nor native comes, the bright pearl has no skills at all, and the devil loses its way. Neither alien nor native comes. So you can take this to mean, well, I'm the good person and I'm being reviled by the bad people. So I'm the native, and then I've got these aliens who are invading my space. Right? But if you don't look at it that way, if you don't create self and other like that, me and them, victim and perpetrator, one who is judged and those who are judging. If you can look at it without creating these divisions, then the bright pearl is fully functioning and the devil has lost its way. The devil latches onto these assignments, these labels of alien and native, good and bad, me and you. The devil also is what is taking up the whole concept of reward and punishment, which might be what you kind of hear the surface level of the koan saying. You commit transgressions, and then in this life you're reviled. You're being punished. And then maybe if you had good karma, you'd be rewarded by people would think better of you in this life. But that's not it. What if you put yourself in the position of the reviler in this koan? What does that do to your understanding of yourself? Now you're reviling someone else. And the person that you're hating, that you have ill will towards, we all have somebody we have ill will towards. Bring them to mind right now. Okay, and now probably there's some kind of subtle sense within yourself that you're a bad person for having those feelings, right? That you're not virtuous, that those feelings are somehow bad. Imagine the perspective if even the person that you had ill will towards actually looked at you and said, wow, you're a good person. Wow, this is okay. What does that do? What does that do to you, just as you imagine that? I'd like to hear when we discuss. So we have this kind of transactional view of our relationships with people. It's almost unavoidable. What I'm giving, what I'm receiving, whether it's equitable, whether it's even, whether it's appropriate. Right? Even in our modern language of relationships, very, very enlightened, conscious, look at relationships. We've got a language of, well, we have to meet each other's needs and really understand each other's needs. So it's conscious, but there oftentimes remains a kind of a transactional relationship that's going on. What do I need? What do you need? What do I have? What do you have? What do you bring? Etc. This kind of view. Has anyone seen the movie Phantom Thread? Nobody. Oh no. Oh no. I don't know if I should even bring it up. Well, it's been out for a few years, so I think I can do spoilers. Is that okay? If you haven't seen it by now. I will, and I'll just say really briefly. The main character is this artist, wardrobe, clothing designer for the royalty of England. And he gets into a relationship with a young woman who ends up poisoning him. And because he engages with her, and then he starts to pull away from her, and she starts to poison him. And as the relationship progresses, it's clear that he knows that she's poisoning him, and he continues in a relationship with her, allowing her to poison him regularly and occasionally, and bringing him to his knees, to the verge of death. And then she brings him back and gives him food again. It's very powerful. And I bring that up because it's a great example of what I think is an incredibly intimate relationship between two people that doesn't follow this kind of transactional model. Like it's supposed to be a certain way. One person's behaving in a way that you would call bad, harmful, creating suffering. And the other one is being victimized by this behavior. And yet, something in the whole that is profoundly nourishing and powerful. They create something really beautiful and amazing in this. I recommend it. The koan says, in being reviled, the karma of the past will be exhausted. This is the key for me. In being reviled, the karma of the past will be exhausted. So whatever your karma of the past is, the important thing is to accept the revulsion and the dislike that's coming towards you, not to fight it, not to control it, to be with it fully. Martin Luther King has a quote, and a Zen teacher used this in commentary on this koan. He said, unearned suffering is redemptive. Unearned suffering is redemptive. Now that's what this koan is pointing towards. Because we do suffer when people revile us, when we feel that very much. This doesn't say don't feel that. On the contrary, it actually says feel it. Be reviled. Feel it. And when you can suffer at the hands of another and not react, react out of protection or react out of a very self-centered place. And I want to say some qualifications, important qualifications, but then you're practicing the unity of your nature at a very deep level. My teacher did a commentary on this koan, and he brings out the story from the Buddhist tradition. It's a story of a man named Funda. And the Buddha found him to be very, very awakened and very, very wise and kind. And he said to Funda, "I wish you to leave and be with the people to expound the Dharma." So he told Funda to go to the west of India. But the Buddha said, "Those people who live there are very rough and mean people. If they insult you, what are you going to do?" And Funda said, "I'll consider them very good people because they don't hit or kick me." So the Buddha said, "If they hit or kick you, how are you going to react?" And Funda said, I'll still think they're good people because they don't beat me with sticks or throw stones at me." And Buddha said, "Well, what if they do hit you with sticks and throw stones at you? What will you do?" Funda said, "I'd still think they're good people because they don't injure me with a dagger or a knife." So you see where this is going. So the Buddha says, "Well, what if they do that? How would you react?" And he said, "I'd still think they're good people because they don't kill me." So finally the Buddha says, "Well, if they try to kill you, what will you do?" And Funda said, "I'll still appreciate them." Among the Buddha's disciples are many who are willing to die, willing to end their lives because life is so painful. If they're going to take my life, I will gladly let them. The Buddha said, "If you have that much patience, your mission will be successful." And apparently his mission was successful. So I think this is a deep practice of non-knowing others, really deep. Definitely not easy, very deep. Not taking anything personally, understanding the many streams of karmic conditions are at play at all times, understanding that there are many streams of karmic conditioning at play at all times with all people, including oneself, but not presuming to understand what those chains of karmic cause and effect are. And then finally, allowing for an attitude of openness and even potentially gratitude at the highest level towards others, even when they behave in a hostile way. This is non-knowing. Dropping your ideas about other people and opening yourself up to an engagement with them that really hears and listens and appreciates other beings for their being. I do want to say that boundaries are important. And notice that Funda says, "I would still think they're good people and I would still appreciate them." But he doesn't say, "Well, I wouldn't run away." I might run away. I might even hit back, potentially. And you know, on second reading, I actually realized that he does say, "I will gladly let them kill me." And I actually noticed that this time, and I didn't notice it on Saturday when I read it. So I'm gonna stop him there, and I'm not gonna go that far. The gladly let them part, I would not recommend. Okay. Boundaries are important, but it's the inner attitude that I want to bring out as the important part of this teaching. Okay, even if you fight back, even if you run away, even if you whatever you do to create safety and boundary is needed, but one can still have even if it's a violent, an aggressive response back or a self-protective response back, you can still have an attitude, oh, okay, here's an enlightened being, here's a bodhisattva that I'm engaged with. Take that. Yeah. So can we practice this with others? My colleague at work disrespected me, but at least they didn't destroy my whole project. They destroyed my whole project. At least they didn't lie about me and get me fired. Okay, even if you have to go and, restore and recover, look at them. Oh, okay, well, they did that. That Bodhisattva did that. My partner's angry with me, but at least she didn't hit me. My partner hit me. At least she didn't kill me. It takes a lot of patience. A lot of patience. Yeah, I'm almost inclined to say that just patience and really being with the suffering of in being reviled, in being harmed, to be with that. That's the wisdom and compassion will arise naturally from that being with. You don't have to analyze it. So we want to watch out for our reactions to others, how quickly we react to others. And we have to find a way to accept people for who they are on their terms, not on our terms. And that also means accepting ourselves for who we are on the terms of our own nature in the biggest view, the biggest perspective of who we are, not our limited ideas of ourself, the story, the me story sense, but in the biggest context of ourselves as beings on this earth, incarnated for a short period of time, interconnected with the earth and other beings in heart and body and mind. Right? Accept ourselves. Not revile ourselves, not build ourselves up. Right? So we accept ourselves on those terms, not on the terms of our ideas about ourselves, which are usually inherited from society, culture, family. Those ideas. That's our conditioned self. Yeah. So this is practicing non-knowing with others, really looking into each other's eyes and with the question, no, who are you? Who are you? You. Okay, let's practice.